Hello everyone, and welcome to another game I played on Ptcgo. For this match, I'm going to be playing with a Tool Drop Sigyliph deck. That of course means Trubbish, Sigyliph, and Masquerain. But this deck is also featuring the new trainer card Elesa, which came out in Legendary Treasures, and it allows you to search your deck for 3 tool cards and put them in your hand, which of course should be apparently useful in this matchup. I'm actually re-uploading this video because of audio issues. For whatever reason, the audio didn't upload in the original, and someone was kind enough to point that out to me, so I'm re-uploading for that reason. But the main reason I originally uploaded this was because of my opponent's reaction to how the game unfolded. It was quite humorous. He was a little bit bitter at what was going on, and I'm not upset at the situation. I just thought it was a little bit funny and deciding to share that with you guys. So as you can see, my opponent is favored to win this matchup. I get to choose whether I want heads or tails. I choose tails, but the coin toss says heads, so my opponent gets to decide who goes first. Here I'm opening with Sigyliph alone, not the ideal start here. I'd like a Trubbish on the field already. And my opponent starts off with Cobalion, so maybe this is a Kling Clang variant, but I don't know. I'm not sure since those aren't played all that often anymore. But I do want to play one of my supporters, so hopefully get something else. My opponent attaches a Prism Energy, it looks like. Again, that confused me a little bit further. I wouldn't necessarily see that played. I know I play Cobalion with Prism Energy because I sometimes play it with Landorus. So here I'm just going to attach a Silver Bangle onto my Sigyliph, and then I play a Juniper, discarding all those cards in my hand. I play down a Trubbish and get a few more tools, but I don't think I'll play all of them. Here I'm just going to play that Rocky Helmet on Trubbish in case my opponent wants to attack it, but I am wary of Scrappers, so I don't want to play many more tools here. So going into my opponent's turn, he'll be able to start attacking me, which is unfortunate, but he'll only hit me for 30. But here's the first thing that makes me a little bit confused. My opponent actually passes. So I think he's actually under the impression that I'm playing a Safeguard Sigyliph instead of the tool drop kind. So I'm actually not. And I attach 2 more tools onto a Sigyliph. Hopefully that signals that I'm playing a tool drop Sigyliph. But I don't know. Maybe it would have been advantageous to just keep messing with my opponent and hope he never attacked me. So here my opponent is going to Juniper since I had to just end my turn and pass. I didn't want to play a chorus for 1. That would have been quite bad. So here my opponent will probably attack me, but I do see a Basculin hit the bench and a Landorus hit the bench. So this is a very confusing setup for his deck. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. But we do see a Heavy Ball. And here I'm just rolling over cards, trying to figure out what type of deck he's playing. Maybe the Heavy Baller will tell me, but I think I peeked into his discard a little bit earlier and it looked like a Vileplume variant, which sort of surprises me that he goes for Rayquaza, since it won't be all that useful here in this matchup, but maybe that's all he had for Heavy Ball. So this time he does attack me, and I am able to play Chorus for a few more cards, and manage to get another Trubbish. I do attach a second energy to my existing one, and just end my turn since I can't really do anything else. Now in my opponent's turn, ideally for this matchup, if he is playing a Vileplume, he wants to get both Oddish and a Psychic Pokemon into play. So here he played a Chorus, he went for a Level Ball, and he got himself an Oddish. So this is definitely a Vileplume, which will use Allergy Panic to make all weaknesses times 4. And the goal of his deck is to just have a Pokemon of each type to be able to attack everything. So here I retreat into Trubbish. I'm going to use Tool Drop for 80 on his active, since he does have resistance to me, which is unfortunate. It'll make it that much harder to knock him out, especially when I don't have any other Pokemon in hand and any other supporters. So my opponent here is going to Juniper for the second turn in a row, I think. and he manages to get another energy on Cobalion, so with that he'll be able to knock me out, and he'll be able to do so in a way that he just bypasses the effects of um, the Rocky Helmet. So here I'm just going to send up Sigyliph. I don't really have another option. It's definitely not looking good for me, but I managed to draw that N. But first I'm going to Super Rod those Pokemon back into my deck. And what do you know? I get another Trubbish, I get a Silver Bangle, a Giant Cape, and quite a bit of good things I can use. So I'm going to attach a Psychic Energy into Trubbish, and my opponent says off the top, indicating that that N came off the top deck, and he's actually right. So I'm just going to retreat into Trubbish, attach a Giant Cape onto Sigyliph, so now it has 4 tools, and with this I should be able to tool drop for the knockout, and I do. I hit him for 130. So here I'm going to just comment that yeah, this is actually what happened, although I'm not entirely sure if that is the thing he's referring to, if that's what he means by off the top. So I just say yep. My opponent now is going to level ball here, maybe for another Oddish. I don't know what he's trying to get into play, but he can attack me, or he should be attacking me with electric types and psychic types, since those are the 2 things I am weak to. Landorus isn't going to do him too much good, but it is harder to knock out. So he goes for a Mulga, which is a good pick, and he plays an N, ending me down to 4 cards. He gets a Mew, which is kind of scary for me, since I am weak to that, but I can knock it out just as easily, fortunately for me. So now my opponent is kind of waiting here. I don't know if he's just going to choose to Hammerhead, and it looks like that's what he's doing. He hits my bench Sigyliph, but fortunately I did attach a Giant Cape earlier, and it avoids being knocked out. I attach an energy onto a Trubbish from the bench, and here I'm going to bring out Elesa, bring out 3 tools. I think I get a Bangle, a Floatstone, and something else. I don't quite recall what I saw. So there you saw Floatstone, EXP Share, and a Bangle, and I can attach them all to these Sigyliph. So I still don't have Masquerade in play, so I can't move my tools around, but I will be able to tool drop here for 210 and take my second prize. So now my opponent has to be feeling the heat. They want to definitely attack me here with Mew, but if they do, I could just as easily get the return knockout, and that's what they have to fear, since I do have a Psychic Energy in hand. So I don't know, if I was in his situation, I'd probably just end up in Mulga, since it does have free retreat, to buy myself potentially some time to maneuver out of the situation. But he sends up Basculin for whatever reason. Again, it's a silly, I don't know, I think it's a silly play unless he has a guaranteed way of retreating it, especially when you have a free retreater in hand. So I get 2 prizes, and my opponent is going to attach to Basculin, and he's going to Sigyliph for a Juniper. So clearly doesn't have much going on in his hand yet. But he attaches Silver Bangle onto Rayquaza, and he's going to hit me here for 40 and the knockout. So he was able to get 1 Trubbish out of play, and here I have to send one of those energies onto a Sigyliph, since they do have EXP share attached to them. I managed to send another Trubbish fully powered now, thanks to that energy I had in hand, to the active spot. I level ball for a Trubbish, I attach an EXP share, I N, and I get another Sigyliph. So now I can tool drop for 200 in the knockout, and I'm 1 prize short of the win. But here it all comes down to whether or not I can draw an energy, if I can take this win quickly, because I no longer have any energy in hand. My opponent does send up Mew finally, and I get an escape rope, so maybe I'll be able to use that if I don't get the energy just to stall out. But my opponent attaches, so with this he can copy the attacks of anything on the field, and even if he copied something like Absorb, if he gets a Vileplume in play, that might be enough to knock me out here. Actually, I think he could copy a Mulga's attack for the knockout, But Vileplume is still not in play, fortunately for me. But he copies something else. So that's enough for the knockout, and I'm able to rescue one of those energies with the EXP share. But here I'm just going to send up a Sigyliph just to have the free retreat since it has a float zone attached to it. I play my Juniper, and what do you know, I managed to get no energy. So I'm just going to bench a Surskit. Hopefully I can finally get that in play, although it hasn't been all that crucial this matchup. I'm going to play a level ball for a Trubbish. We'll bench that. Here I will float stone onto the Sigyliph I just played. I'm debating whether or not to play that escape rope to try to stall. And I do just that, although he can just go into a Mulga. But since he didn't go into Mulga previously, I thought I might try it. And he goes into Rayquaza, so I'm going to send up the Sigyliph with a float stone, and hopefully it'll be able to survive this turn. So now my opponent gets to go, and he has to be looking for a way to switch out. And here, if he can attack with a Mulga and get a Vileplume, that would be his ideal scenario. Although he may be reluctant to evolve just because that makes Mew that much easier for me to knock out. So now he benches it looks like a Suns, no, not the Sanskrit. He plays a bicycle and a switch, and he's going to go into a Stunfisk and attack me. It does nothing to the active, but it manages to knock out a benched Sigyliph. I now evolve into Masquerain. Here I'm just going to play a level ball just to burn it. There is a Sigyliph remaining in my deck, so I will bring that out just in case I do end up needing it. And I'm going to play an N, and I managed to get a Psychic Energy. So with that, that's all I need. I just need to retreat my active Sigyliph, go into my bench Trubbish, and I will be able to hear Tool Drop for the knockout. So it came down pretty close. My opponent only had 2 prizes left, but all I really needed was that energy. So here I just need to wait to take my last prize. But here my opponent sends me an emoticon. He seems to be upset, or I didn't really understand what the emoticon meant, to be quite honest. And I say, good game, or GG, and he says, not even. I say, LOL, I think it's funny. He might be joking here. Normally just say, good game to, I don't know, everyone, even if the game is coolly one-sided. I've still return it. That seems to be the etiquette on here. But he says top twice to win, not GG. So here he's upset that, I don't know, I had a heart of the card situation, if you will.